Joining me now from Texas, OAN Chief White House Correspondent Trey Yingst. Trey, thanks for joining us today.
Me, Liz.
All right, Trey, the scene behind you, it's shocking. It's quite remarkable. You're standing in front of what appears to be a house that is completely demolished by this storm. I mean, you've been on the ground here all day. First of all, tell us what you've seen.
So we've been around Rockport, Texas all day, just outside of Corpus Christi, talking to people about what they experienced during Hurricane Harvey. And really what we have seen is complete devastation. This is still very much a search and rescue operation. The National Guard is here, the Coast Guard is here, the Red Cross is here. A number of federal agencies are here, not only looking to help clean up, but also looking for people who could be trapped in the rubble. As we made our way through the streets of Rockport today, the only way that you could tell a building like the one behind me had been searched through is if a red X was spray painted on the front, which indicated that cadaver dogs had gone through and searched for bodies. This is very much a dire situation, and I can tell you that the people of Texas very much appreciated that the president did come down here to Corpus Christi today to meet with local law enforcement officials and ensure that things were running smoothly.
Right, and then that was my next question. So the president, of course, was in the area that you're in right now, like you said, right outside of Corpus Christi. I mean, there was some talk, I guess the regular political divide, some coming from the left, some coming from the right, debate about whether a visit from the president was the proper, appropriate thing to do to provide support to the people, or whether that would serve as a distraction, not just politically, but also pulling law enforcement resources to protect the president that were, desperately needed for search and rescue missions, for example. Did Trump accomplish supporting people without pulling resources away where they were needed?
So this is a question that I asked to many people that I spoke to on the ground today in Texas, and the average response that I got from many of the folks that I talked to was they felt the president went about this the right way. Originally, he was scheduled to tour some of the disaster zones like the building behind me that have been hit very hard and are still trying to get relief. But he altered his trip a little bit at the advice of his White House counsel, going to Corpus Christi, meeting with those officials, meeting with the Texas governor and also FEMA's administrator, and focusing more on the relief efforts from a coordination perspective rather than from an on-the-ground perspective sort of photo op thing to just show him moving a few boxes around, maybe a few cases of water. He decided to go from a more coordination standpoint. And like I said, that has been widely accepted by people here who say that they are not ready for politicians to come through the streets here. They are still looking to make sure people are safe. They are looking to make sure their family made it out in time. And they're also looking to make sure they can clean up and start to recover here just outside of Corpus Christi.
Listen, and that's what I feel even from a distance. I'm not in Texas right now, but in California. It's the right thing to do for the president of the United States to address a national disaster that impacts not only the residents of Houston and Rockport and Corpus Christi and the state of Texas, but impacts all of us just because we see our fellow American, going through this. But at the same time, I wouldn't want, like you said, a photo op to happen that pulls resources away where they're needed. The coordination, though, between FEMA, the National Guard of Texas, the governor of Texas, talk to me a little bit about that, because I believe it was yesterday that Governor Greg Abbott said that everything that he's asked the president for so far, Trump has willingly and quickly given to him.
Yeah, right after this storm hit, the president actually called Abbott, the governor of Texas, and told him, whatever you need from a federal perspective, we are going to provide for you. Now, yesterday, I did ask the president during a press conference at the White House whether or not he felt this was the right time to be cutting FEMA funds. And he said right now he does feel they have the necessary funds to address this issue in Texas, and that moving forward, that is going to be a deciding factor for Congress. But when you talk about the coordination efforts, really so far they appear to be very good in comparison to previous disasters in the United States. Looking back at Katrina, the disaster and coordination, many lives were lost as a result of that. So far, though, each of the different federal agencies appears to be coordinating from a federal level, but not getting too involved on the ground here, still allowing those state and local law enforcement officials to do their jobs, something that the president spoke about over the weekend, wanting to make sure they were provided with the resources they needed, but not getting in the way. So far, that does seem to be working. But again, this disaster is far from over as we see waters rising in Houston, Texas, and all along the coast. Hurricane Harvey reduced to a tropical storm, but still battering down on the state of Texas and soon to be Louisiana.
Right. I mean, 49 inches is the last count that we got, and the rains are still pouring in many areas. One last question, Trey, quickly before we go, and this has to do with the relief effort. The video that we played at the beginning of the segment that's showing some political bickering already attached to the relief aid package that's expected to go through Congress to provide that money necessary, to fix scenes that are right behind you right now. I mean, you have one foot in Texas right now versus your normal beat in Washington, D.C. Do you see this gearing up to be a political fight where Democrats and Republicans forget to focus on what's important here? They forget what it's like to be in the midst of a disaster like this, and they just poke at each other over political points?
Well, I hope not. And I can tell you that the residents here in Rockport also hope this will not be some sort of political game. I've asked many people what their message is for the president and also for lawmakers in Washington, and it's a very simple message, Liz. It's help us. It's help us provide the resources we need, and don't forget about us. And I don't think those are political messages at all. I think those are messages coming from humans, from Americans who are in desperate need of aid here in Texas. And this is far from over. And many of the people that I've spoken with today, they say that this should not be a political game. This should not be some sort of photo opportunity for people to get reelected. But this should be people coming together, not only as a community, but as a country, to make sure that the residents of Texas have what they need moving forward.
Amen to that. It certainly should not be something that anybody uses for political advantage. Certainly not. Trey, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I appreciate it.